By the way, fellas, did you know that it's our birthday today?
Is it?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. We don't look a day over 24, I'm told.
Yeah. I know, quite incredible, isn't it? Yeah, it's 1 year. So this week's episode, this will be 1 year since we took over.
And it's still going. How good are we?
Oh, I know, quite incredible, isn't it? Jeb, I know you've been quite generous recently with the cameos.
Very.
We've had Colton Palmer, we've had Kevin Campbell, obviously Luke Chadwick's turned up. I'm guessing you've got somebody in, right? For
sadly, I've not. I've got some of this Tyson Fury energy drink left. I mean, I could try that.
Give it a go. I mean, see what it gives us.
I'm a fasting manager. Where's that white Callum? The big bum dosser.
Oh, welcome to Football Manager Therapy. Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week, we have 2/3 of the FM team. We have the United City FM, and we have Jebaroo, who sounded like he had a little bit of something stuck in his throat earlier, but I'm guessing it's cleared up by now. No? Are you feeling okay, pal?
Yeah, I'm fine. Callum's there.
Callum is here. Callum. Hi, Callum. Yeah. Callum is, of course, still on early paternity leave, still waiting for Y Baby to arrive. So, hey, maybe as we're recording this, it's happening. Maybe it isn't.
Come on. Who had Y Baby or FM24 early access dropping first? Come on, which way round were you?
Yeah, like most people, if we're honest, went early access. And we didn't know when that was happening, but we all still...
We're extending the book to FM25 currently. So if you want to put a real big bet on,
fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we hope everything is... Hope you are well, Callum. Hope the family are well. And fingers crossed, you're going to get some very, very good news soon. But in the meantime, I've got two of my favourite people with me this morning. Jeb's throat is cleared up nicely. Kev, how are you this morning, pal?
I'm doing really, really good, thank you. We've got a new game to talk about. How exciting is that? So, yeah, it's been a good couple of days having a deep dive. We'll chat about that as we go. But, yeah, really good, really happy. Had a good stream or so. Lovely to see you boys, as always. Let's do a podcast. Woohoo!
Let's absolutely do. Because, Kev, you are completely correct. There is a new game out, which we're all very, very excited about. Spider-Man 2 is finally here. Yeah! Hooray! Spider-Man. Also, Football Manager 24 early access dropped on Thursday evening, which was very exciting. It's here. It's finally here. After all the speculating, because there's nothing quite like the build up to FM early access, or previously known as a Football Manager beta dropping. Everybody wildly speculates for ages and ages and ages. Jack Work the Space tweets about it on a daily basis, just retweeting older beta announcements, which is always a joy, because the first thing you do is you just check the date. We just check the dates, Jack. We know what's going on. But FM24 early access is here. We've all spent a fair bit of time with the game so far, and I have my opinions, weirdly enough, but I'll go to the panel first. I'll go to Mark, go to the fellas. I mean, Kev, your FM23 experience was, in your own words, a little bit wobbly at the best of times.
Yep.
You've had a bit of hands-on time with the early access. Are you expecting more of the same, or are you feeling refreshed? Are you feeling ready for a new challenge? Do you feel like this is going to be a little bit kinder to you?
Oh, I mean, that is the question, isn't it? All I can tell you at this point is that I expect to enjoy playing the game a little bit more this year from what I've seen already, but whether I can achieve the results I'm looking for is a completely different matter altogether. Having not really played too many competitive matches at this point, it's difficult to know, but early signs are really good. There are a couple of bits in there that we'll deep dive into as we go through the next hour, just in terms of a few bits that I was wanting to see a little bit more of, and they've seemed to have done it. The thing that I would say above everything else is that for anybody out there who had a concern that 24 would be a bit throwaway because they've already suggested what 25 is going to be, I think you're going to be wrong on that one. I think they've done a very good job. It is kind of the celebration of FM that we were looking for, this version of FM, this type of game. And I think we're going to be able to celebrate through the year with that. And we will see. But yeah, early signs are really, really positive in a lot of ways. Can I get the results? I have no idea.
Hey, we've got a year to find out, haven't we? We've got a year to figure it out. And I'm quietly confident, because I always am. I'm backing you to the hilt, Kev. Backing you to the hilt.
Thanks.
I mean, Jeb, you've been hanging out. You've been playing a little bit of FM24. I mean, you know, again, early thoughts. What are we saying? Are we saying championship contender or big bum dosser?
I wanted to say that. That's weird.
It is a really weird.
Come on, calm down. I'm fine, by the way. You didn't ask me how it was at the start of the podcast.
But are you, Jeb? I mean,
Exactly.
really? Come on, let's unpack. Jeb, are you okay?
Yeah, I had a nice week. I have a bit of a gripe with Sports Interactive for releasing it while I was at a esports B2B conference at Wembley. So there's actually some footage. So I do some work with Confetti, who are part of Nottingham Trent Uni, and they asked me, "Oh, can you sit in? We just need to do some marketing footage." And I sat down with the guy who edits this Esports Insider, and who's pretending to interview me. So I'm on this footage, and we are literally just sat there talking about FM24 early access, because he's a massive Football Manager fan.
Nice.
So we were just sat there for 2 minutes chatting about it. I think they recorded it as well, so it was quite funny just to listen to that. So yeah. Yeah, so a bit of a gripe with that, because I couldn't get to the game. I could not download it while I was away, or couldn't play it or anything that way. So I got home fighting Storm. What is it? Is it Storm Babette? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
Storm Babette. I was fighting that as I drove back. I got back at 10 o'clock and I came in and loaded it up. And I think the first thing they did, I have a quick sneak peek into the network save, and I was just like, please hope this works, because this is the one thing that we were saying we're going to carry this on. This is the only place we were going to carry it on, and it does, so that's good. But the early impressions, very good. Some bits still the same, but hopefully they get improved next year. Like, yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff that I talked about in our previews and things like that, and they've just not changed. And it's frustrating, because some of them are easy clicks, but then also they've made so many changes elsewhere. You can understand why they haven't changed those bits. So it's that balance.
Exactly. This balance is the key word there, isn't it? You know, it's good. Just to, I'm just going to put it out there. I like it. I think it's, from my experience with it so far, it's been great. And as you say, some of the bits and pieces that might be easier fixes in the long term, if the improvements hadn't been made elsewhere, you might feel a little bit shortchanged. But it feels really polished. And like Kev said, it could have been a free hit, but it's not. It's not in this, like, considering the changes we're expecting next year with FM25. It feels like a sequel to FM23, and I think that's the best way we can put it. You know, it feels like a proper sequel. You know, criticism of Football Manager games in the past have been that, you know, every year it almost just feels a little bit like a patch, or in some cases like a bit of DLC if you play your console games. It feels a little bit like that. It's just an updated database. Everything else is comparatively similar. But so far, touch wood, very, very happy with what we're seeing. So we've all spent a little bit of time, a bit hands-on. I mean, the first thing that I'm noticing about it, the first thing that I'm really, really seeing, is that visually the match engine looks lovely, doesn't it? It just looks really, really nice. And actually seeing it firsthand, we've seen the trailers, we've seen the clips that SI have put out over the last few months, but actually seeing it in action, it feels like it almost feels like a different game, doesn't it? I mean, compared to FM23, it looks so much sharper. The animations are lovely. I still haven't seen a little volley into the ground yet, but I'm biding my time. There is still time. I've only done a few preseason friendlies, and I'm sure we'll talk about that soon. But it's exciting. It's exciting to play the game again, right, Kev? You got to have that excitement towards it.
Absolutely. There's some really interesting lighting choices in it, I think, which are really interesting. I've seen a couple of people suggest that, you know, playing at night but compared to playing in the day, it has a little bit of a different feel to the quality of the lighting that you have around the scene, as it were, etc. So I quite like that. I feel like there's a little bit more atmosphere in there, just in terms of those visuals. Myself and Jeb had a chat whilst he was streaming yesterday about the placement of a disabled bay in the car park that seems to be no access at all to the stadium. But other than that, I thought it was interesting, and right next to a big pylon thing.
I think it's next to the floodlight. It's underneath the floodlight, and it's along. There's two walls going all the way around it, and like there's no like gate or door or anything obvious. It's like
you have to go round the stadium. Come on, get yourself sorted. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, in general, the feel of it, the actual look of it looks great. We talked a little bit before about the images that were released before the drop happened, where you could see that the grass quality had improved in terms of the visuals of that. I think there's a difference in the way that the fans in the stadium feel in terms of their movement and interaction with some of the game as well. And then the actual match itself, there's lots of good things in the match itself, but as a visual, I'm impressed. And what it goes to show again, and I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we were looking at some of the early images, in the content creation world, lighting is key. And I think that's what they've improved a lot this time around, is lighting within the game, the actual match scenario. And I like it. I'm there for it. It's good.
Yeah, no, nail on the head there. Yeah, it looked lighting visually, it looks lovely. I played a pre-season friendly yesterday, and the kickoff was kind of like late afternoon, and it was all just nice and golden, and it was just really, really subtly lit. I was like, oh, that's lovely. I mean, initially I thought, is it a sandstorm? But I was like, no, it's just graphically, it just looked nice. It's sunset. It's a lovely, lovely time. I've not had a nighttime game yet. I'm, you know, in the save we're definitely going to be talking about in a bit. I'm still very, very much pre-season, and all of my pre-season games have been kind of 3 o'clock kickoffs. So I've not seen a nighttime game as yet. I'll probably have a couple of them over the course. You'd imagine a couple of late kickoffs over the course of the season. Yeah, 1 or 2. Jeb, my question for you, I suppose, when it comes to match engine and visual presentations, how many ambulances have you seen so far?
There was 1. It made sense. There was 1, and there was 2 employees near it as well. So it looked okay there. There was a few. There's a food truck. There's a gazebo. There's some containers. They've made like a little food court. It's not visually stunning, but it's an improvement. It's a bit more logical, other than this aforementioned disabled parking space, which I'm going to actually probably see a lot of, because that was at Molyneux. And if we're carrying on the networks, Dave, I'm going to see that every single week when we play at home.
You absolutely are.
It's going to annoy me more and more.
I want it reserved as my own. Thanks,
yeah,
Jeb,
yeah. Let's see if we can work on that. We can change the graphics so it just says reserved for the United City FM. And do you know what would be an even greater visual? That car driving in when you come from your match that's finished early, and my match. I kept it.
Yeah, just turns up 20 minutes to go every week. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to have to drop off the podcast now, because I'm going to have to email Miles with my thoughts on what we're doing with manager games. Why haven't you done this? I can't believe it.
We've had a think.
The animations in the game look lovely. The intermediaries I've had a play with, and I think we'll go on to it a little bit more. That's worked out okay. To be fair, we'll go into why I say okay, because I can't get rid of some players still. It's just like pulling teeth. But the animations definitely in the matchday engine been really nice. I'm not sure, and I don't know if it's because of the way I've played it. I've had a lot of corners in games. I think in that Wolves game that we mentioned earlier, I had 17 corners, and so a corner's the new post. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it might just be ball physics. It might just be we were dominating that much, but we just couldn't put a goal away in the corner. We shall see. So set pieces. There's a few things, and there's a lot of things. I think even if we've all clicked through our own personal saves today and gone, oh God, we should really have paid attention to this, but it's a early access save. It's not the full fat save, so it's not something that you pay loads of attention to. Some people do, though. Some people try really hard, don't they?
For the sake of the audio listeners, we all just glared at Kev. This is it, isn't it? an early access save, as you say, it's a little bit throwaway isn't the right word, but you're just kind of just trying to get yourself used to the setup, get yourself to the new systems, new bits and pieces. It's interesting, and again, a lot of different people have different opinions on early access saves in terms of their length. I mean, I streamed last night, raided into a friend of the pod, an all-round good human being, McKinns, who was streaming his United rebuild. And, you know, we were chatting away, and he was like, yeah, you know, your early access saves, you know, your proper saves, you've got to plan it all out. You've got to spend time, you know, carefully considered. I think he did a Brighton save last year where his objective was just to make as much money for the club as possible. So it's like, you've got to be really considered over your transfers, you know. Your early access saves, you're only going to be doing, what, 4 or 5 seasons? So you might as well just throw money at it. I'm like, 4 or 5? How are you going to do 4 or 5? I'm going to struggle to do 1. But I am just going to throw money at the wall and just see what happens. It's been great fun, though. I'm really enjoying really enjoying it early doors, because, like I say, I'm just trying to get all of the new features on stream. So things like the new set pieces. It's been... I've really enjoyed that. Just having somebody sitting there, like, it was almost like holding your hand, like, right then, so how do you want to set up? How do you want to set up your set pieces? Do you want to do it? Like, it felt nice, and it didn't feel like I was kind of, you know, being babied through it, but the way that it kind of, you know, because sometimes I need that. We know this to be true. Sometimes I need my hand held. But setting those up felt really nice. And I was like, when I was clicking everything, I was like, okay, this feels like it's giving me the option to set everything up the way that I want to set it up, you know, like leaving men forwards, you know, preventing the counter attacks, number of men in the box, all seem to make quite a lot of sense. I think with all of our early access saves, as we were saying, you know, we didn't realize what shape our team was going to be in. So I haven't spent as much time as I would, you know, setting up as I'm going to with my main save once full fat FM24 is out. But that in and of itself does feel nice. You know,
yeah, but I was just going to ask you to set up all your set pieces, and I did the same. Have you actually got a set piece coach? Because I don't have one still. That's something I realised this morning as well.
Yeah. It realised that I didn't, and I think I've poached one from. I've poached a set piece coach from a Premier League club.
Okay.
It took a little while, but I've now realised.
Yeah,
and also, yeah, in true FM fashion. Yeah, the first goal I conceded this year in a pre-season friendly was from a near post corner. So I feel like that, you know, balance has been restored. It's never going to go away, and it's going to haunt me forever. I think that was the bit that I spent the longest time hovering over, when they're like, right, where do you want your corner taker to be delivering your set pieces to? I'm like, well, it just feels like a coin flip at this stage, because, you know, I've not played a single game. I don't know where the most effective place to try and put my set pieces is. Do I go centre? Do I go back post? Do I go near post? I might just go near post, Rich. Just go with what you know. Just go with what you know. Near post corners. Surely that's the key. Works against me, so it might work for me as the season goes on.
So I'm going to be deep diving into that on my next stream. We kind of got through to the first Premier League game on my first stream with FM24. So the next thing that I'm going to do at the beginning of my next stream is, you know, formation, tactical setup, player roles, and set pieces. Set it out, because I now have a team together that I'm happy enough with, that I think is going to be roughly what I'm using. It might be worth just mentioning within the set piece stuff, because although I haven't deep dived into it myself just yet, I do kind of know a little bit about it, just having read a few bits. You don't just have to do one. I think there are 3 spots that you can use, like there are in your tactical approach over the general thing. So if you wanted a near post routine, a far post routine, and a top of the box routine, you can then decide what percentage, I think, is used of those during the game. So maybe 2 out of 10 you'll get a shot from long from the edge of the box, and 3 out of 10 you'll get from the far post, and the rest of it will be near post or whatever. So it's worth thinking about, how do I set my set pieces up to give me differences and options, and rotating around some of those things to throw people off a little bit as well, just as a minor thing on top of what we were chatting about.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, as we play more of our saves, both early access and then long term, I think those will start to evolve. As I was saying, I don't think that, because of the save that with the preseason save that we're doing, because of the early access save that we're doing, the squad at the start of the save is going to be dramatically different to the squad a couple of months in. So it's kind of, once you've got the better feeling for your squad, like you have, Kev, I think that's when you can start to pay a little bit more attention to it. But what I've seen so far makes me feel very, very positive. Very, very excited about that. Like I say, I want a nice short corner routine. I want a near post. I want back post. The signings that I've made in terms of my save, I've tried to make sure I've got enough quality set piece takers for the in swinging and the out swinging. So that's so again, it should give me options as it goes on. But that's been very, very nice. I think we've all referenced it, haven't we? We've all referenced what we're doing in terms of early access. So we should probably, again, for a little bit of additional context, let everybody know what we're doing. Our podcast savers, we mentioned on the last pod, but we're actually doing it. It's properly happening. Callum's playing too, which is wonderful. It's Broken Chelsea. We've set up a Chelsea pre-season, so early access save. We've done it under My World rules. So in FM24, when you set up your save, there are 3 different options for how you can create the universe that you're going to have your save in. My World basically takes you all the way back to the beginning of, I think it's July 2023. Any transfers that were arranged before, that were completed before that date, so any transfers that were arranged just before the start of the summer, have gone through. So as I say, we're all managing Chelsea. So in terms of Chelsea, for example, Nkunku has already arrived at the club. Nicholas Jackson has already arrived at the club. But then the massive spate of signings that Chelsea made kind of over the summer don't exist. The sales that happened over the summer don't exist. So you've got pretty much a blank canvas to start again from, which is very, very exciting. And my goodness, we have taken our blank canvases and we have painted upon them. We've put all of our signings in our Discord, by the way. If you're not part of the FMT Discord, there's a link at the bottom of this video. There's a link in the description for the podcast as well. Please feel free to jump in and get involved. We've all put all of our kind of transfer wheelings and dealings up there because I think wheelings and dealings is the most accurate way of describing it. I mean, Jeb, you streamed this for the first time yesterday, and I'm having a little look at some of the transfers that you've made. I mean, you talked about intermediaries, you've talked about transfers, you've kind of touched on bits and pieces already. What was your approach in terms of getting the save started, in terms of, your Chelsea, your universe? How have you started?
I basically went into the squad, clicked on the perceived potential ability, which we'll come into later when we go into staff, and basically when anybody who was below 3.5 stars was out the club in my eyes. So there's a lot of players that have gone, that I want to get rid of, and then Mason Mount avoided out the club as well because he shouldn't be there because he's at United. Spoiler, Mason Mount's still here. He's in the under 18s. He will not leave in any shape or form. I've offered him out there every intermediary possible. There's they're not, oh, we can't even do this. He's just not one to leave. I tried to buy a transfer room a few times, still not going. But we did get a few out the door. I think it was quite nice to see that you still get some all right money for them as well. So I got 18 million for Ziyech going to Burnley. I got actually, I've not done very well on money. I'm just looking at. I got 5.5 million for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and he went through an intermediary, and I think they came with a 4.5 million bid, and then the intermediary was going to get 10% of that. So I just put it up to 5.5 million. Worked out well for both of us. Same with Baba Rahman. Aspilicueta went to Fulham, and then I've not really actually had any massive sales. So the 178 million that you start with, and what is it, 500,000 in wages, or it's more than that, isn't it? It's about 1 million in wages that you have left over.
Quite a lot.
So it was just really balancing that out. And naturally, I need midfielders because Chelsea are very dry on midfielders. You've got Nkunku, but he's out until the middle of the season at least. So I picked up I don't know if I've ever used him before, spoke about it, or Kefren Turam. I'm not sure if you're aware of him, 6'4" midfielder from Nice.
I think
he plays for Wolves in my network save, and he's probably my best player. Yes, I picked him up straight away. He's been great. I wanted to back up to Chilwell. That wasn't Cucurella. Spoilers, I've still got Cucurella. He's on the Mason Mount list. He won't leave, for me anyway. So I picked up Christensen as a backup from Leicester. He seems to be okay. And then we picked up Todibo as a defender. We picked up Geertruida as a defender as well. Thiago Silva's probably going to be out the door. And then we don't have a keeper, so just went to Villa and went, I've got 40 million here. Can I have Emiliano Martinez? I went, yeah, sure. And it was done in a day. It was great. And then I think the most bizarre one is this season, RB Leipzig sold Konrad Laimer, or Lamer. I'm going to go Lamer. Lamer sounds better. He sold to Bayern Munich. So here I am looking at the transfer listed players. Konrad Lamer's there for 12 million. So picked him up. Nice and simple. He's come in as a defensive midfielder, also backup right back. Really good midfielder. No idea why Bayern have transfer listed him after 12 days of the transfer window, but that's what's happened. So,
he's gone the full David Unsworth.
Yeah,
he's turned up at a new club and gone, oh, I didn't mean to actually. Sorry, can I go? Yeah, I fancy Chelsea. Yeah.
So that's where we've gone with it. I'm building the team around Lukaku because he's still a very good striker and he kind of proved that. So we were 1-0 up in our first game. We lost it 2-1 against Wolves, which is really annoying. I've continued on because I was going to be streaming all this week and then I got a call. I've got to go back down to London for the week anyway, so network save then disappear. So I've pushed it on a little bit, so I thought I'll play my next game. My next game was against Man City. I was like, oh, God, this is going to be horrible. We won 3-1. Man of the match, Romelu Lukaku. So there we are. He's got a goal, got an assist. We looked quite good. We kept American Messi in Pulisic, Sterling out wide. But it's quite nice to see. Just like I've just gone for a basic 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, and then Lukaku as your target forward. But it's nice to see that it flows quite well. And you've got so many wingers. You just bring on. I don't know why you'd sign any wingers. I don't know why you'd try and get like the world's best player or anything like that on a free.
That would be weird.
Sounds like crazy.
That would be really weird. Yeah.
I mean, we did try to sign some. We did try to sign Rafinha, Dembele, Messi, Skinra, Asensio. Yep, all said no. Andre went elsewhere. There's somebody else who's gone elsewhere. We missed the boat on Victor Osimhen, who I didn't know had a release clause of 86 million. Maybe I should have watched other people's streams beforehand to find this out, but there we are. I'm a busy boy. You've
got a lot on. You've got a lot on.
Yeah, exactly. So we started off all right. I've basically pushed forward to the transfer deadline day. And as I said this morning, we looked through our coaches and they are, well, you don't have any coaches. That's the first problem. You have John Terry, who's coaching a little bit from the under-21s, who are probably just going to get rid of because it's John Terry. And, you know, a Liverpool fan don't like John Terry. Most people. So yeah, probably move him on. Yeah, you got 4 goalkeeping coaches. 2 of them are okay. The rest are rubbish. You've got 5 fitness coaches. One of them's Pochettino's brother, I'm guessing. He's rubbish. And the scouts are awful. I've already addressed the scouts a bit. So I've got Pavel Nedved as my chief scout, and David Trezeguet is coming as a scout as well. And I also got rid of the director of football and replaced him. And I was streaming while Chelsea Arsenal was on yesterday. So the irony of me hiring Ivan Gazidis as my director of football is not lost on me there. Also, I was quite worried because we called it broken Chelsea. Chelsea were 2-0 up for a long period of that game yesterday. I was like, have we picked a save where they're actually not broken? It's all fine. this title's not going to work. But there we are. Declan Rice and Nicholas Jackson saved the day for us.
Cheers, boys. Yeah, I did notice it was 2-0. I checked the score at 2-0 and then I stopped paying attention. And then I opened Twitter and then I just saw. So I think the joke was something along the lines of Chelsea could never be dog walkers because they just can't hold on to a lead. And I was like, okay, something's happened. Something has absolutely happened. Yeah. And as it turns out, it was Declan Rice and Nicholas Jackson. Look, I think we're all approaching it in. I think there's a lot of similarities to how we're doing things, but there's also a lot of differences. I think, as you've touched on there, Jeb, you've gone like, why sign wingers? Because you've got Raheem Sterling, you've got the American Messi. What more could you possibly want? I mean, going back and checking and looking at the finances so far. Now, again, for context, if you do start a Chelsea My World save on FM24, as Jeb says, your opening transfer budget is around £175 million, about £500,000 a week in wages. You know, you've got there are commodities at the club. There are definitely players you can get a fair chunk of money for if you sell them and it goes the right way. Jeb, I'm looking here. So you've so far spent £287 million in your save. Now, that is also including, for context, the pre-arrivals of players like Nkunku, Jackson, obviously Jimmy J. Morgan from Southampton. How could
obviously?
Yeah, don't forget about it.
Obviously, don't forget Jimmy J. So, you know, you've probably spent close to around the 150, 160 odd million pound mark. Kev.
Yes, mate.
You've started the stream. You've been streaming the save. Would that be is that about a fair assessment for how you've gone in terms of your spending? Probably around the 180 odd million pound mark.
I've definitely spent 180 plus million pound. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I feel like I'm going to be honest with you, Kev. I feel like the plus is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
Yeah, I mean, you might have a point. Well, I mean, to be totally fair to me, Rich, I did make 281 million pounds in player sales because the aforementioned wide men I just looked at and thought, no, just no. So they've gone because, you know, I've got one more to get out, but no. Raheem Sterling went to PSG for 71 million pound. Pulisic is out. Callum Hudson-Odoi is out because he's just not good enough. I'm waiting on a move happening for Mudryk. He's the last one of my big wide men to get out. They just weren't good enough. So I made a bunch of money and I spent a bunch of money. So I brought in 281 million pound. I've sent a few people out on loan as well to get them off the wage bill, because I think with the finances that we have, the wage is as much as an important thing as the transfer at times, just to be able to reshape for the season or so that we're there. The player that Jeb was talking about, Cucurella, that he couldn't get out, he's gone to Man United. No problem for me. Just one of those weird ones that happened, you know. So yeah, all in all, made a bunch of money. Then I went a bit mad. So far, with the 80 million or whatever it is that Chelsea had spent before I showed up, I've spent 589 million pounds. I mean, just a bit. I mean, I made 281, so you know we're doing all right. And if I'm totally honest, although the overall bank balance doesn't look particularly amazing, let's say, I've still got 40 million to spend and about 400k a week in wages I can move around if I want to. So there's still one or two more signings in there, to be honest. And we haven't got Mudryk out yet. And there's a couple of others that might be wanted as well. So we might not be quite done. I've reached the first Premier League match of the season, but haven't played it yet. That's where we left it on my first live stream of the 24 cycle. So we're coming back to that on Monday afternoon. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I looked at a few other players that turned me down. Skriniar on a free decided to go to Real Madrid. Messi decided instead of coming to me, he'd take 1.8 million pound a week to go and play in Saudi. So, you know, fair play to Messi. Do what you want to do. Asensio went elsewhere, I think. But somehow I managed to struggle through with my 500 million pound that I had to spend and just about did it. The one thing I would say, so it was about a month or so in game, whatever it is, to get through that first month before the Premier League starts. It's a little bit of a mind warp to keep track of it all in a lot of ways, because I was doing kind of a bit of selling to get a bit of money, then do a couple of deals, but then you had to make sure the next section of players were out so you could make a couple of deals. And then you weren't necessarily putting your, you know, sending your defensive midfielder out to buy a defensive midfielder in. It was like a winger to get a defense. So just keeping track of all of that and figuring that out was a little bit of a mind melt at times. But I think I'm just about there. I got one or two spots that maybe I'd change, but it's ridiculous how many players Chelsea have. There are far too many.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's a real... There's so many, but then at the same time, it's such a contradiction. So on the one hand, there's just an abundance of players at the club, but then on the other hand, like Jeb said, there's just no central midfielders. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm looking at this 589 million pounds that you spent, Kev.
Yes, mate.
Like,
it's good, isn't it?
Kvaratskhelia for 95 million pounds.
Yes.
Money well spent, in my opinion. I think he's great. And I think, given the way that you see it's in the animations in this year's match engine, I think he's gonna really, that's gonna improve it. He's gonna be great. Kim Min-jae, who obviously hadn't moved to Bayern, now plays for Chelsea in your universe.
He does.
£73 million on Emre Can, though. That feels like, I think they've had you there.
65 and then a bit on top if he makes a
Okay.
few things happen, you know. So, I mean, let's, you know, just backtrack that a little bit. But what I would say, actually, he was pretty much the first player I went for, because I knew full well that there were a couple of really, really big gaps in this particular squad, especially knowing what I wanted to get out. So goalkeeper was one, central defense was one, but that holding midfielder, I thought they really lacked. And I also thought they lacked a little bit of experience in that midfield area. So I could have tried for someone like Declan Rice for double that price. There were several other defensive midfielders that we talked about on stream as well. But he was actually the one that I really wanted, because he's got all the experience that I'm looking for, has got a well-rounded attribute list, and could just do the job that I was looking for. So, yeah, you know, 65 for a, 29-year-old or whatever he is. But, you know, Casemiro's had one good season at Man United, being a 33-year-old for 60 million. So why not Emre Can is my thought, really.
Exactly. Why not Emre Can? Get that on a t-shirt. I like, don't get me wrong, I like Emre Can. You know, I'm a big advocate of him in draft mode, for example. So, you know, I don't mind a bit of Emre. But that was that one took me, but I think that just the fee for him took me a little bit by surprise.
Well, he probably didn't want to leave, let's be fair.
Probably not. But then you've also got like Fikayo Tomori's come in, Diogo Costa, Pau Torres, Rodrigo de Paul, Livramento, Pedro Goncalves, because of course, because why not? For if you compare the Emre Can to the Pedro Goncalves transfer, £65 million for Emre Can, £30 million for Pedro, which is
you spend a little, you save a little, it's all good.
Exactly. I need to have that conversation with my bank manager. Look, I'm just, it's fine. I've spent too much money here, but also I've saved here. So surely everything's fine. I'm going to be honest with you, Kev. I think you've spent really well. I really like what you've put together. I really do like it.
Here's my thought, right?
It's good.
Is my thought. So I feel like I've got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit reserved and a little bit structured in how I play and how I bring players in, and, you know, not going all out on the 37-year-olds that can come and give me half a season, you know, in network saves or whatever it is. You know, I don't do that sort of thing. I'm quite reserved. I do seem to, I do prep a bit. You know, I did a little bit of prep before I went in on my first stream, and I sorted out my staffing, and I bought my set piece creator in the staffing unit and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to just splurge, because my first bit of FM24 proper is going to be in the lower leagues of awfulness, I suspect, in a lot of ways. And I just wanted to splurge. And if I get the sack for spending too much money and putting them too much in the red, well, so be it. But it will be fun finding out. But yeah, I just had a lot of fun.
Splurge away, mate. It's the time to do it. It's absolutely the time to do it. I was having this conversation last night on stream, you know, and I spent a lot of last year, you know, managing in Scandinavia, where, you know, paying more than £2 or £3 million for a player for a lot of clubs just isn't viable. So now you have the opportunity just to throw money at players. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it now and get the most enjoyment out of it.
Can we just quickly discuss Callum's transfers? Because I've actually just properly looked at them for the first time.
Please, because I was there when he did them, and they're amazing.
So he put everyone on the transfer list, and he sold a lot of them. He's not sold Mason Mount either, so that's good to see. He won't go. He's in my under 18 rotting, by the way. Also, shout out on the coach thing, which Kev alerted to me to, is Carlo Cudicini is your loan manager. If you are Chelsea, get rid of him immediately. He is awful. He's got a 4 for analysing data.
How is he in that job?
Especially Chelsea as well, who loan 400 players a season out. So there we are. But anyway, looking at Callum's transfers, he signed Victor Osimhen, Colomboani, Dembele, Cancelo, Ugarte. James Ward-Prowse, really, really, really good. And I've just looked at towards the bottom of the list, and he signed the starting Man United centre-back partnership of Harry Maguire and Johnny Effort.
He has. let's do that kind of stuff. I want Kim Min-jae, Pau Torres, Badiashile, and Tomori as my options in the defensive unit. And he went Harry Kane and Johnny Evans. I mean,
Harry Maguire. Harry Kane.
Harry Maguire. Sorry.
Why not?
Harry Maguire.
That's your
and
next
Johnny
signing,
Evans.
isn't it? Yeah.
What Kane?
Harry Kane. Yeah.
He won't come. He won't talk to us with Chelsea. He don't like us. Apparently, I've tried. But yeah, it's just the same sort of approach, really. Kim Min-jae, Harry Maguire.
I loved it because I was really happy that Callum managed to squeeze a stream in at the time of recording yesterday morning, because we know Callum's taking a little break. We're awaiting the arrival of Y Baby, but he had a bit of time, and I'm really glad he managed to get a stream in, because I caught some of it. And on the one hand, he's there. I'm like, hey, you should sign Seamus Coleman. He's like, no, we're not doing meme signings. I'm not gonna sign Everton players. I don't want to weaken Everton, so we're not going to do that. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then I take the kids to their swimming lesson. I get back and I kind of catch up. And I'm like, oh, well, let's have a look at his program. Harry, okay, cool. Yes, that just the transfer policy just changed in an instant. It's like, actually, no, I am going to sign ridiculous players. I loved the concept of transfer listing everybody, though. I think that's again, it's fun. It's a season. Why not?
There was one thing I was praying for that didn't happen, though, because he said at the very beginning of stream that I'm going to transfer list everybody and accept anything that comes in and move on. I desperately wanted Reece James to be bid by somebody in the first couple of days, just to have to get rid of him, because he's basically one of the very best players that they have. But they didn't. Nobody came in. I was kind of sitting there going, oh, you're on a sticky wicket if he goes potentially, but okay. He didn't.
This is it. I mean, it's a massive squad. It's a huge squad, but actually in terms of the squad itself, there's not enormous amounts of quality, like all match ready quality. It feels very in real life. The transfer policy seems to have been, it's right. Let's invest in players now who in 2 or 3 seasons time have the potential to be very, very good. But at the moment, they're not quite the finished article. And, we've all had that experience in FM saves where you hoard the wonder kids, you bring in all the young talent. And unless you're playing in a country where the young talent is comparable with the first team players, like, again, I was very lucky. Scandinavia is a prime example of it. You sign a 21-year-old wonder kid from, a second-tier Spanish team and stick them in your first team in Denmark. Chances are they're going to be there or thereabouts level in ability with other players in the league, like the homegrown players. But you can't do that in the bigger European leagues. You can't do it in the Premier League. You can't do it in the Bundesliga. You can't do it in I was about to say La Liga, but it's not La Liga anymore, is it? Is it EA?
Yeah, it's La Liga.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's still La Liga, but it's just sponsored by Electronic Arts now. No, it's not. Electronic Arts. Yeah, like you can't do that in those leagues. So you have to. There has to be that balance of experience and youth to an extent. So it's a difficult one. The players are there, but they're not quite good enough to compete in the first team yet. So there's a lot of players to ship out, and there's a lot of changes to be made. I mean, I kind of went down the Callum approach. A lot of players were transfer listed. Like I say, Reece James is one of the exceptions to that rule. Reece James is fantastic and he's Premier League ready. Same with Enzo Fernandez. He's Premier League ready. He's good to go. You've got Benoit Badiashile there, who's fantastic, but he's out with a torn hamstring. You've got Wesley Fofana, who was fantastic in previous M's, but he's done his cruciates again. Second time in his career already that's happened to him. So he's not going to get a second to first team football. Nkunku, who's not going to be ready till January. So you've got to shift a lot. That's a
big miss, isn't it?
That is a really big miss. Nkunku is fantastic. So he can play anywhere through the middle. He can play out wide. He's a goal scorer. He can create. He can do a lot. So if you're doing Chelsea come January, it's going to be, he's going to come in, and I was about to say he's going to come in like a brand new signing, because technically he is. He's going to be great. He's going to be absolutely fantastic. But he said there's a lot to ship out. But there are commodities there, like Raheem Sterling. I sold for a fair chunk of change. I think he went to PSG. I got £71 million for him.
Yeah, he did that deal for me as well.
Yep. Cucurella was one that I think I got very, very lucky with, because again, I know most people have tried to move him on. Jeb, he wasn't successful. I think Callum was. Callum managed to get a shot of him.
But mine was lower than yours. Didn't you get like 50 for him or something?
I did. Yeah, Callum sold into PSG.
That.
Yeah, Kev, he went to Man U on your save. Yeah, I somehow managed to ship him to Saudi Arabia. £57 million I got for Cucurella.
You made a profit on it.
Bonkers. I did. Just about scraped one over the line. So that was incredible. In terms of my approach to signings, I don't know what you guys were doing.
Neither did we, Rich. We just did it.
Because Skriniar was just there.
He turned me down. He was a poopy head.
Turned me down.
I got Skriniar to accept. Originally, I got Skriniar to accept, I think it was 75k a week. And I felt like a genius because before I even clicked, I clicked on, I chatted to his agent, gave me a rough idea of what he wanted. And we talked about this before when we were doing our little preamble before we went live. All through my stream yesterday, I'm managing Chelsea. At one point, I had £1.3 million a week available in my wage budget. Every single player, when I chatted to the agent, every single player, I was like, I'm sorry, the wage demands are too high. They need to come down. And every single player went, okay, yeah, sorry, we'll adjust those. It's Scandinavian muscle memory. That's what I'm putting it down to. Just like, right, this player would change your team. He wants 20k a week. I was like, I can't afford 20k a week. How dare he? And now players like, yeah, we'd like 70, we'd like 120 grand a week. I'm like, no, you'll take 75, which is what Skriniar did. But then an offer came in from Real Madrid. So I upped it to 100. I was like, I'm happy to do that. And eventually he said yes. So in came Skriniar. Jeb mentioned earlier, why would you try and sign the greatest player in the history of professional football on a free transfer? I was like, well, Barry Bannon isn't available on a free transfer, so I'll take the next best thing. Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi plays for Chelsea in my save. Again, 350k a week I'm paying Lionel Messi. I don't know how.
£1.8 million a week he's getting at Saudi in my save, and he turned me down to do it, I believe. 1.8 million.
1.3 in mine.
You got him for 350k a week, for goodness sake.
Yeah. And I did originally. He accepted 300. Just went, yeah, I'll take 300. And then I think it was Al Hilal came in and they offered him a contract. So I was like, I'll just up it by 50 grand a week and a couple more bonuses for winning competitions that I'm not playing in this season if we qualify for. And he just said yes. 350k a week. I've got Lionel Messi. That's on a 2-year deal as well. And for a 36-year-old, attribute-wise, obviously his technicals and his mental attributes are some of the best in the game. But physically, he has still got it. 16 acceleration, 18 balance, 15 pace, 13 stamina for a 36-year-old is unheard of. Those are normally, of all of those attributes, you can just knock the one off the beginning. It'd be, 6, 5 pace, 3 stamina at 36. But they're like, no, he is still incredible. And the way I'm going to use him is going to sit him behind my strikers. He's not going to have to do much running. He won't have to run. He's just going to pick up the ball, dribble past somebody and score. That's going to be it. I mean, admittedly, he did get injured 26 minutes into my first preseason friendly, but in those 26 minutes, he scored and assisted.
I was there. There was a conversation for 10 minutes about what happens if he's out for 6 months, etc.
Yeah, there really was. It's really weird. I think the save would have crashed because I think it auto saved just before the game. It's really weird. My PC would have crashed and I've had to reload. It's a horrible business. Hate it when that happens. So he came in for free. I know everyone tried to go in for Asensio as well. He ended up going to City in my save as well. But of the Skriniar, Messi, and Asensio trio, Asensio was the one that I wasn't really that fussed on. I was like, take him or leave him. That's absolutely fine. Victor Osimhen, I, like you, Jeb, didn't realise he had a minimum fee, release clause in his contract until I got a news article just saying that United had put a bid in for him. So I was like, well, I'll check. And then I saw it and I was like, right, straight away he's in. I can't afford not to, really, for £86 million for one of the best strikers in the game. I've sold Lukaku. I've taken the hit on that one, which is weird because I spent the first hour or so of the stream just, talking him up, because we had a really in-depth chat about Lukaku about a month ago on podcast, didn't we? About how I felt a little bit bad for him. We talked about Lukaku's career in a lot more depth than anybody really expected us to, me included. And I was like, you know what? Let's give him a go. I reckon Lukaku's got this. And in his first couple of preseason games, he was phenomenally good. I think scored 6 in the first 2. Looked great. Looked really, really good leading the line. Then Osimhen came in. I was like, I can't really justify having them both. So off he went. He went to Manchester United for about £50 million.
Remind me, Rich. Remind
me.
Here we go. Because I genuinely didn't get this when I was watching you last night play. So how many strikers are you playing with in your formation?
Well, it varies. It does vary, because I haven't really had the time to figure out what the best thing to do with Messi is yet. I'm sticking with a standard Chelsea 3 at the back, because I want to give it a go. Because somebody told me liberos are very, very good this year, and from what I've seen in pre-season, I don't really have a natural libero in my team at the moment. But the ones I've been using, I've been rotating Cesar Azpilicueta, who is still there. I'm looking to sell, but Azpilicueta is still there. And also Ethan Ampadu as liberos.
He's not answering my question, is he?
No, he's not. No.
How many strikers
we'll get to that.
Currently in your formation?
We'll get to that. At the moment, it's 2. It was originally 3. 3 at the back, 3 up top. But the thing is, I've got Osimhen, I've got Messi, and I can't figure out if he's better suited behind the strikers or as a false 9 in a front 3. I haven't figured that out yet. Nicholas Jackson is there, and Nicholas Jackson is just a meme at this point. I had him at Stuttgart last season. I said it then. He is the African Darwin Núñez. He will score 2 goals a game. He could easily score 6. Jeb has put a beautiful screenshot in our Discord of one of his preseason performances.
Oh, it wasn't preseason. That was in an actual.
Oh, that was league.
That was a League Cup game, yeah.
Oh, that was a League Cup game.
Yeah, he had 2 goals disallowed, missed a penalty, and scored 1. So yeah, it was a really, for pre-season. Well, I had the worst pre-season. I didn't actually mention that. Yeah, I lost every game of pre-season, including the Azpilicueta testimonial where I tried to get rid of him before it. That's what my Kev noted my evil laugh as it came up. I was like, let's try and get rid of him. Let's get him out the door.
Oh, that would my next fixture is Azpilicueta's testimonial, and he is still here. But I'm very tempted just to not put him in the matchday squad, just out of spite. But yeah, so Kev, technically I am using 3 strikers.
Okay, so here was my point. No, my turn to talk now.
Please.
Here's my point. You had the speed demon that is Osimhen. You had the tricky player in and around him that is Messi, and you had the perfect opportunity to use a big lumpy target forward by the side of them and link them all together, and you sold him. Why did you do it, Rich? Why? I genuinely
funny, innit? That's all I've got. Funny. No, I couldn't justify having Osimhen and Lukaku, because like I say, I still don't know if I'm going to play 3 all season. I don't know if I'm going to do 3 all season. And, I'm looking for my next signings are going to be a goalkeeper, because where I left the stream last night, we've had a bid accepted for Kepa.
They are quite key goalkeepers, aren't they? I find.
I've heard good things. I have heard good things.
My favourite thing when I signed Martinez was he didn't come in as a world-class goalkeeper. He just came in as a capable goalkeeper. And I was like, oh my God, what a sign.
Fairly confident.
You can put the gloves on the right hands. It's like, there you go, look.
He's still using the trophy. He's still holding the trophy inappropriately. He's trying to make stays with that. But yeah, Lukaku went. And we'll see. We'll see who's laughing at the end of the season, Kev. Probably
it won't be me. I'll be sacked because of my financial mismanagement. That's what's going to happen to me.
Exactly. Look, we're all once the tax man comes knocking, just pretend you're out. That's what I do. It's easier that way. But no, I'm feeling good. I've made a couple of Callum signings as well. I've bought James Ward-Prowse in. I've done a Jeb, and I've bought in Thuram to boss the midfield. So I think that's going to be absolutely fine. Liveramento's come in from Southampton as a bit of cover at fullback. Like the team looks like fun. Like I said, I haven't got a natural libero yet, but Ethan Ampadu and Azpilicueta have both been surprisingly competent at it, because I'm noticing liberos a lot more this year in the match engine as well, because last year I never really saw the benefit, but this year they're edge of the box during most of the attacks, and it's just an extra body. And I'm focusing, but I don't know if it's again because I'm focusing it through the middle. I've just got I've got the fullbacks just crossing from deep, which has been very, very good. It's like Reece James, we all know that his crossing is phenomenally good. Azpilicueta, when I've played him out there, has been very good at it. I've still got Callum Hudson-Odoi, who hasn't left yet, and he's been weirdly competent, covering at right fullback. He's picked up a couple of assists pre-season as well. Like, it's working really well, but I don't know if it's got the underlaps on. I don't know if that's pushing the libero up higher, but it seems to be working. But
target forward would be really good, wouldn't it? If you
it really
doing
would,
those crossing from deep,
wouldn't it? Maybe I'll sign a different one. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll forget. Who really knows? While we're talking, I've got the game uploaded. How tall is Nicholas Jackson? He's 6'1" with 12 jumping and 13 heading.
Perfect.
He might just be able to. He might be able to do it. Just do it. He'll figure it out. He'll figure it out as he goes. That's all we can ask for. He's going to learn on the job.
So
Broha's still there. Broha's still there as well. Maybe I'll use him. Who knows?
Just as a little bit of an aside for anybody else that's doing Chelsea that might be doing it longer term than we are, there are some pretty good youngsters in this club. If you go and have a look at the under-21s, you're looking for the likes of is it Mason Mount is in
Mason Mount in there.
You've got obviously Levi Colwill is around the club. You've got Lewis Hall, look for him in the under-21s.
Gusto,
Andre Santos, Gusto, Cassidy. There's a few in there that you really need to go and check out. If you're doing long-term Chelsea, bring them into your squad in season 1 and have them sit behind a recognised first-team player, and they're going to do bits for you, I think.
Yeah, because in reality, of course, Lewis Hall moved to Newcastle over the summer, wasn't it? So, and I think there was quite a bit of a there was a uproars, mate, but there was some discontented rumblings from a lot of Chelsea fans, in as much as, well, this kid's got potential, and now he's gone.
And
which
have to go.
was
Go on, sorry.
No, go on.
You'd have to go a very long way to avoid the registration rules as well, I've noticed. Because you have like 16 or 17 registered English players, so you don't have to worry too much about that, which is quite nice.
A good balance. I thought it would be a lot worse than that, if I'm totally honest, when I first came in.
So did I.
Very good.
So yeah, I was apprehensive about that. Like I was like, well, try and bring in some English, which is why Livramento, Ward-Prowse have come in. I'm happy, because I thought that'll help. But realistically, you actually don't need too much of it. There's plenty of space. So it is a really, really fun team. Like I say, I'm still fairly early into pre-season. I think I've had quite a friendly set of fixtures, because everybody else seems to have gone on some kind of pre-season European tour. I've just played a bunch of clubs in League 1 and League 2. So I
did that a bit as well.
Yeah, and the way that I'm trying to set up the team, the shapes and everything else, they seem to be sticking to them, which seems to be helping. It's the way that the team look on the pitch and the way the runs they're making, the positional play of the play, it's kind of what I wanted them to be doing. So the early signs are promising.
Well, this is what I've been hearing everywhere across the entire community for the last couple of days, which has been really, really encouraging, that the actual match experience, the AI of the players, the mechanics of the ball, I've been so much better. Now, I heard a theory that tied into a thought I had for FM23, that my FM23 experience was that defenders were really stupid and were not coping with the offense that came at them. I heard a theory that actually the ball mechanics might be the thing that they've changed that will enable that to be different. And the reason being that before, the ball was kind of to one player to another, or from one player to a particular spot, was a bit of a cannon. It just kind of went. and the players couldn't keep up with the movement of the ball. The ball mechanic being a little bit more drifty and floaty and caught up in wet grass or whatever it might be means that the whole game feels a little less frantic and a little bit more settled. And that might just give the defenders enough time to go, I know where that's going. I know where I need to get to and be. So let's go and do that. And I felt that the defensive capabilities are a lot better within this particular match engine that I've seen so far. So kudos to the team that are doing the match engine, because I think it might turn out, unless they patch it and move it and it dies somewhere in the mix of it at the moment, I think it's going to be a pretty good one. I really do. I think that ball mechanic thing and watching those AI player movements and figuring out how they interact with their teammates is really important and a really big step forward potentially, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've noticed, again, you touched on the ball mechanics, the way that the ball moves in the air. It feels noticeably different for me this year. You know, when I set my tactic up, I normally I'm either a low crosses or a whipped crosses guy. I never have it on mixed and floated. I just never seem to notice them popping up in the match engine. But you know, some of the deliveries I've seen from like Reece James, for example, like some of his deep crossing, I've seen floated crosses. And they just hang really nicely in the air. They're like curl and hang in the air. I've seen some whipped, which are just, you know, it's all from the same kind of positions as well. It's very, very cool. Like they're noticeably different, and that's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. That's been ever so cool, ever so nice. So that's yeah, it makes a difference. I'm seeing some deflected shots as well. That's been awesome. So some of the I haven't seen me go in, but I've definitely seen some deflections. They're popping up. So those changes, again, it feels like the attackers are putting themselves in better positions because they're expecting those crosses. And the deflected balls just adds a little bit of flair, doesn't it? A bit of change, bit of difference. It's all very, very exciting stuff. I am excited for the future. I'm really looking forward to finding out, especially as we will start getting into the actual, you know, the bulk of the season, how everybody starts progressing. There is a lot to look forward to there. And again, it's
the next little thing that I'm really intrigued by when we transition into the official launch on the 6th of November, because we're all playing at Chelsea and feeling the game from the Chelsea perspective, having the multi-millions to spend and the international players. What I really want to find out, and maybe our viewers will already or listeners will already know because they're playing differently. When I go into the lower leagues of British football, am I going to get a fullback that can do the inverted role and tuck in and let the left fullback go or whatever? Or are they going to get confused by that and just be out of position a little bit and not be able to do it enough? Or are they just going to be able to do it because it's kind of coded that the players will move in that kind of way? Where does the intelligence come from within their attributes or their setup, etc.? And will it feel like that your Exeter team can play in the same way that the Barcelona team can, just at the level that they're playing in? Or will there be a difference in that? I'm intrigued by that as we move forward.
Yeah, this is it, isn't it? You know, because we've all tried it, setting up a really, really overly complicated tactic with like a world-class team, and then like, oh, well, this works really, really well at Barcelona or Bayern Munich or Man City. Let's go and try it with the Forest Green Rovers, and let's see how that looks. And the players just don't have the capacity to mimic it in game. So again, you never know. Like some of those new roles you've touched on there, I haven't tried them as yet. You know, I think it's partly because in terms of especially some of those new fullback roles, I've got a very, you know, I play wingbacks. I play wingbacks on support and sometimes play wingbacks on attack, and that's all I really do. Fullbacks and a whole, you know, that's all I do. I feel safe. I understand that, and the newer roles, the inverted roles, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. But then again, it took me the better part of 10 months to appreciate the value potentially of a target forward in a system. So I'll figure it by the end of the season, by the end of this cycle, by the end of FM23, I'll have cracked it just about. Yeah, or I won't. Which is, realistically speaking, much more likely, isn't it? Much more likely. But overall, very, very excited. It all comes back to, and I remember a conversation, a really interesting conversation I listened to, and this is like back in FM21, I think. It was when our host from last week, Tony, was doing his original kind of forays into Tony Jameson versus the community, where he was doing kind of like one-on-one PvP matches with people. He had Daljit on Bust the Net. And if there's somebody that understands Football Manager, it's Daljit. And he was basically trying to explain to Tony how, look, you can either try and recreate real football or you can play the match engine. And as much as you want to do the first one, it's doing the second one that's going to get you success in Football Manager. And he was demonstrating, like, right, here's my first tactic. I'm going to set up, and this is going to confuse the AI, and the defenders are going to make silly mistakes, or they're not going to understand what's going on, the way the ball moves. They're not going to be able to anticipate it. I'm going to score some goals. He'd do that. And he's like, right, well, now I'm going to do this. Completely change the system, but this is going to confuse the AI in a different way. And it worked, because of course it did, because he understands it. This year, and I've been guilty of that myself in the past, trying to, play the match engine rather than play the game, which, takes away some of the fun at the best of times. But this year, I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, this match engine feels very, very new. It feels very, very different. And I am just going to try and play the game. It's going to make me want to play the game more than the match engine, because there's the unknown, isn't there? There's the unexpected. There's, it's going to be more things like more deflections, variation in some of the pass. It's an exciting time for me, because even though I'm playing a game that I've played thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on previous versions, it almost feels like a fresh start. And I like the idea of that. It gives me a chance to be average at a brand new thing, which I'm very, very, very keen on. Very, very keen on. I like the idea of it. I think the consensus is, lads, I think we will like the new game. I think, is that fair to say? Yeah?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Good stuff. We had a big list of things that we were planning on having chats about today. But look, I'm very conscious that we've just done a lot of talking about just what we've been up to so far. And it's very, very cool. I think it's probably worth plugging the fact that, as Jeb previously mentioned, the network save is continuing into FM24. I think that's very, very, very exciting. Jeb's Incredible Wolves team are going to continue to be incredible. I guess my question for the two of you is, based on the experience you've had so far with FM24, if you compare it to how you were doing things like setting up teams in FM23, if you take a second to really sit back and look at the teams that we've built over the past 3 seasons in the network game, either of you maybe a little bit apprehensive about how you've got teams playing at the moment compared to current match engine? Or do you think that the newer match engine is just going to vastly improve what you're already trying to do in terms of your tactics and the way you're setting up your team? Because I genuinely don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, I've got a new club and a comparatively new squad, so that's going to take some tweaking anyway. But I mean, Jeb, your Wolves team, you've built an absolutely phenomenal team. Do you reckon you're going to carry on your dominance moving into 24 with this newer match engine?
I'm not sure on that. I'm more worried about the finances, the £200 million I'm in debt.
Oh yeah, there is also that.
Yeah, how that one works out. I mean, I'm currently sat in 3rd and 4 points behind City, and I've got to play City in the last 8 games, so it could be an interesting end to the season for me. Yeah, it's one of those. I'm not sure. Like I said, I think I kind of have a system, but it's very, very streaky, I've found. So, like, if I win a game, I'll win it by 3 or 4 goals, but then I'll draw games frustratingly and concede in the final minutes. So, let's see how we get on. I mean, it's just even just looking at performance. Like I said, we're very streaky. We'll go on runs where we'll win 3 or 4 games where we've won by 3 or 4 goals, and then we'll draw silly games, etc. I think the last game that I had a drew 0-0 with Villa, which is a very boring game. I think it's a nice, silly way to end out the stream. Yeah, I'm hoping the match engine's kind. I mean, the one thing I did, like I said, I had a quick click in on the set piece creator. It's like, I like my squad a lot more again, because when you look at aerial threats and things like that, all of them, just everyone, just click everyone in the squad. They're all an aerial threat, so it should be fine. So yeah, we'll see. We'll find out, and we'll know more by next week, I guess, or know more by tomorrow night.
Absolutely, because at the time of recording, it's going to be our first stream of the network game on FM24, and we're going to be finishing season 3. So we'll have in 48 hours time, if you're listening to this publicly on Tuesday morning, or whenever in the week you listen to our podcast. You know, if you manage to catch the network game on Monday night, you'll have a much better feeling in the future of how we fared. But again, we've all got interesting run-ins. I mean, Jeb's chasing a Premier League title with Wolves after 3 seasons, which I think is a sentence that I don't think, because we haven't really talked about the network game in a huge amount of detail on pod recently. That's such ridiculous achievement. It's absolutely phenomenal. You know, I flirted with, you know, there was a point for about 2 weeks in season 2 when I was still at Leicester, where I was like, oh, mathematically, if all these things happen, maybe, you never know. And then mathematically, all those things didn't happen. I was like, actually, no, I'm going to finish like 12 points off the top. But like with 8 games to go, to be within 4 points with a game, like with the defending champions to play, that's amazing.
Are we the least successful podcast in terms of FM? I was thinking about this the other day. In terms of trophies, actually won. Obviously, Kev won a fair few league titles, but that was necessary to do. But he obviously never won the league title the season after, apart from I think one occasion. So yeah, maybe we have a little trophy counter for this season. See how we get on. We can include the network save in that as well. Obviously, Callum's doing his Slough stuff as well, so he can work his way out the leagues. I mean, none of us won the Champions League last season, or to be Europa League. Do we get I won a Conference League.
I got quite far into a couple of European conferences, but I don't know if I actually won it in the end.
Yeah, won a Conference League, and I think that was about it. So
yeah,
might be one of them. We get a little trophy counter, little FMT trophy cabinet.
I think that's a good shout. Yeah. Technically, I won a Champions League, but I did it off street. I because I wanted, just for my own peace of mind, to round out the end of the, and I'm using, for the benefit of audio listeners, air quotes, Scandinavian save, where I ended up with West Ham and then Man City for a season. I did win the Champions League and the Premier League.
Obviously, you did it with that Inter Milan, but that was the biggest cheat squad you've ever seen in your whole life.
You can't, and again, as much as I absolutely adore it, Mad Scientist databases are not canon. They don't count in the real FMT universe. So yeah, I did it off stream with Man City because I just simmed to the end of the season. Just wanted to see what would happen. I didn't want to play the game, so I just thought, you know what, it's probably going to be more of the same. And it was, I think I lost 2 games across the entire season, or, you know, the AI lost 2 games for me when I simmed to the end of the season. Won the Champions League, won the FA Cup, won the Premier League with them, but it didn't count. So that was the end of that. But yeah, I won 3 league titles in Scandinavia, a couple of domestic trophies, a playoff final with West Ham. And that was...
I know you get a trophy for it, but come on.
You get a trophy. I got a trophy. If we said trophy counter, I think being handed a trophy means you get to take it off on the trophy counter.
I always find that weird as well. Imagine you're the team that's finished second, that's finished above them. They don't have to go to the pledge. You get nothing, do you? It's like, well done, you promoted. Nice. You get like a big thing that says promoted on it, and that's about it. But you don't get a trophy. But you do if you go in the playoffs. I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, you get a handshake. You get a polite handshake. Yeah, it was like a Christmas in the Owens household when I was younger, when my eldest brother he was moving to France with his now wife, and because my parents felt bad for him about moving to a new country with not a lot to do, they bought him which at the time was the newest console. They bought him a PS3 and about half a dozen games. And they were like, there you go. You go off to France and that'll give you something to do. You enjoy that. And then they're like, oh, we've got to buy you a Christmas present this year, Rich, but we've got something for your girlfriend. Make sure you give it to her next time you see her. That's kind of what it feels like when you finish like second in the championship. It's like, oh, you get a trophy. You get a trophy. Sorry, they got the trophies. Yeah. But you know, well done. You get to play in the Premier League next year. Also have millions of pounds. But you know, that would soften the blow, really, wouldn't it? Just millions of pounds.
So the follow-up question is, if I do the miracle and win the Champions League tomorrow, that would be a miracle.
That would be
incredible. Yeah.
But who are you going to have to go to do that?
I know exactly. If I win the league tomorrow. What does that count in, FM23 or FM24?
It's kind of a weird hybrid area.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a weird grey area. It's morally ambiguous. I think we'll have that conversation tomorrow if you win the Premier League.
Let's put a poll out if it happens.
We'll do a poll.
Yeah,
Does
but
Jeb
I
get
think
a
a little
massive head
trophy
start?
counts for us. And let's just leave it as it, because obviously you're doing lower league saves and I think probably on end of ball doing various lower league saves, but let's get the trophy counter. A trophy's a point. I think it's as simple as that. I think we've maybe make the bigger European ones that worth a couple more because we've never really touched them. But let's see where we get to.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great shout. I think I love the idea of that, and I can't wait for the arguments. This time next year when you're like, well, no, my Champions League trophy is now worth 3 points because you can't compare it to the Valderrama. So actually, I can.
I'm also just thinking of it. Could you imagine them doing it on the FM show where Tony's got his one Larissa save all the way through, and RDF's done a different save every single day?
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a domestic double in Portugal. Did that this afternoon. Tomorrow, France. Oh, good. Tony's like, I've sold a player for 6 figures. Does that count?
Yeah. Sadly, there were 6 figures of Greek gods, so there we are. Just little stone figures.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly. Yes, trophy counters. That is all in favour of that. That's a very, very, very good idea. And as I say, look, we've all got, we've all touched provisionally on it. We've all got, most of us have got some plans for FM24 in place. Kev, you're going back to your YouTube roots, if I remember.
I am indeed. Yeah, I'm going back to a series that I was doing a couple of times on YouTube over a few seasons, like 4 or 5 years ago. Rolling in the Isles, no badges, no experience, loading up all of the British Isles and Ireland, and then finding a job in the depths of it, working my way up as a manager to get to 1 Champions League final. And whatever you win or lose the Champions League final doesn't matter. That's the end point of the series. So that's the intention for my save. I really enjoyed doing it before. It's kind of where I got a little bit of a boost up by Loki Doki at the time I was doing that save. So hopefully there's a few people out there that remember it. And I'm really looking forward to getting going with that after the chaos that is Chelsea. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, that's my plans for 24.
Lovely. So Kev is going to, by his own admission, with his save, has to win trophies. So you could be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. I'm, of course, doing my really frustratingly Oasis-themed save. What's the story? Former Glory, where I'm just going around the world, not just limited to any particular region of world football, going around the world and trying to restore clubs that used to be successful or have achieved wonderful things in the past, trying to recreate those achievements with them. So I'm starting in the J League with Kashima Antlers, trying to win a J League title with them for the first time in quite a few years, because on paper they are the most successful club in J League history. Just haven't won it for a little while. So starting there, and then the world is my oyster. I'm going to be aiming to recreate some achievements that clubs haven't managed for a few seasons, like maybe back-to-back league titles, a European trophy, domestic doubles. I've got options and I've got the whole world to explore, which I'm very, very excited about. So again, there is pressure on me for the save to be anywhere near successful to win trophies. Callum, Atletico, Bill Slough, what a wonderful concept.
Yep.
He's doing a Slough-based Regionair. Shout out to Regionair enthusiast and leader of the game, Mad FM, who started it with his Northern Boys save a few FMs ago. Wonderful. And I know he did it with AC Milan last year as well. Like, just absolutely exceptional concept. You're only allowed to sign players that were born in and around the area that your club is based. So Callum doing that in Slough, I'm sure he's going to find it really easy because we all know that Slough is a hotbed of international talent. So
obviously, yeah,
he's going to absolutely smash it. Jeb, I know you've been away quite a lot, and time hasn't necessarily been on your side. Have you got any ideas of what you might be looking to maybe do this year on 24? If the answer is no, think of something on the spot and commit to it right
now. Find out next week.
Well, there's the cliffhanger. Brilliant.
There it is.
I like it. I'm coming back next week because I want to know.
Absolutely, I'll be here. I will absolutely be here because because again, last year, Jeb's content last year, Pescara. I love the Pescara updates, and that literally just came from a poll. That just came from vote for a team. Pescara have rainbow dolphins on their shirt, and that was all the motivation that was needed. And there it is. There is rainbow dolphin shirt. So that whatever it is, sure it's going to be really, really good. It has to be. You're contractually obliged for it to be really good.
It's in the contract.
No pressure. It's going to be
Because
fine.
I set that challenge, it's going to be Man City.
Yeah, just
just carry on with Chelsea.
Sorry. Yeah, I just decided to do Bayern Munich. It's really weird. They just give you the Bundesliga after 3 games every year. They're like, oh, what's the point? What's the point? Just have some time off. You deserve it. No, it's going to be great. Look, there's so much to be excited for. FM24 is really, really, really good. And I'm excited to play loads more of it this year. And I'm just excited. Oh, it's just exciting, isn't it? So much potential, so much excitement. It's going to be good. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait. Having Callum back as well. So, it's all going to be so good. So good. So full of optimism. Remind me of this in a month's time. I'm like, Japan's terrible. I can't win any games. Stupid idea for a save. Just going to do a retro save for the next 6 months and just win all the trophies there that won't count. There you go. Just remind me of this. Remind me of this moment. It's vitally important. Good. Happy days. Look, lads, I don't know about the two of you, but I reckon that's probably a podcast.
Brilliant. Definitely. Absolutely. What a joy.
Wasn't it though? I've had a good time. Hope you've both had a good time as well. Before we go, lads, tell the people where they can find you doing the content. Jeb, we will start with you. Where can people see you potentially winning a Premier League title with Wolves this week?
Twitch.tv/Jebbaroo, I think. Yeah, that's where I am. Yeah.
Might as well do it on your own channel. I mean,
I figured that. I might just do it on the FM Playoffs channel and need some viewers.
Do it on the Playoffs channel. Do it on the Playoffs channel. It's better. It's just better that way for everyone involved. Kev, what about you, my friend? Where can they see you doing some Fulham and then some Chelsea?
Yeah, you can find me at the United City FM on Twitch this week. I'm really looking forward to it. Monday can't come quick enough to deep dive back into some Football Manager because the pre-season is lovely and the chaos of spending the money is lovely, but we get to play the games and, get into a season and see how the balance of the matches are and all that kind of good stuff. So really looking forward to it. So come and join me on that. Can I give one other shout out a little bit for something else that I've recorded and been on that's coming out in a little while?
Absolutely.
So I went and guested on the Project Football podcast. It's coming out the Friday after this episode drops. So if you could go and check that out for me, give him all the love in the world and come and listen to the episode that I'm on, that would be really fantastic. Had a great time chatting to him a couple of days ago. So that's the one that I'm going to be on next.
Perfect. You heard him. You heard Kev. Go and check out Project Football podcast with our Kev on it. Sure, it's going to be an absolute treat. As for me, you can find me at twitch.tv, richardowens.fm. Cheers, Carlton Palmer.
Thanks, Carlton.
Cheers. Thanks, Carlton. Appreciate your input as always. Yeah, twitch.tv/richowensfm. Obviously, finishing the network save this coming Monday. So at the time of recording tomorrow night. So if you're on Patreon, use this as a reminder. Come hang out with us tomorrow night as we finish season 3 and then maybe start the planning for season 4. Who knows? And then for the rest of the week, it'll be more Chelsea pre-season challenge. Lovely. Lads, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A pleasure. Absolute pleasure, as always, to spend my Sunday morning with you both. Right. We want to go live our lives now. And I expect you guys to do the same. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. It's been an absolute blast. We will see you on the next one. Take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.